I thought my husband was weak, until he proved me wrong in front of everyone I knew. My name is Emma, and I'm writing this anonymously because the situation is incredibly embarrassing, and I don't want my husband, Daniel, to find out. We're going through something I never thought possible, and it's entirely my fault. At 25, married for nearly 4 years, I thought we had it all figured out, especially since we've known each other since university. But now, everything has crumbled, and it's tearing me apart inside. From the start, Daniel and I were always opposites. He's a quiet, gentle type who finds peace reading a book or enjoying a calm evening at home. Meanwhile, I thrive on social interactions, parties, gatherings, events, you name it. Despite our differences, Daniel always supported my outgoing lifestyle. He was never one to complain, always smiling and nodding, encouraging me to be myself. Gradually, though, I started taking Daniel's kindness and generosity for granted. Looking back now, I realize how careless I was. Daniel has always been incredibly thoughtful, the sort of guy who wakes up early to make my favorite breakfast or cancels plans instantly if I'm feeling low. His entire world seemed to revolve around making me happy. And foolishly, I took that as a weakness. Over time, I began to exploit Daniel's good nature without even realizing it. One day, I mentioned wanting to become a stay-at-home wife, even though we had no children. Without hesitation, Daniel supported my decision wholeheartedly. Initially, I embraced my role, handling household tasks with enthusiasm. But soon, laziness took over. Daniel would return from long days at the office to an untidy home. No meals prepared, yet he never complained. Quietly, he'd clean, cook, and manage everything without a single word of protest. Instead of gratitude, I began to see Daniel as too accommodating, even weak. The more patient and tolerant he became, the more irritated and disconnected I felt. I desired someone more assertive, more passionate, someone who'd stand up to me rather than constantly yield. And sadly, I began to drift away, spending more time with friends, seeking excitement elsewhere. My new circle of friends only encouraged this behavior. We'd joke about our partners, and Daniel often became the focus of our laughter. They would say I deserved better, someone who could match my energy and ambition. Fueled by their validation, I openly mocked Daniel behind his back, laughing about his endless efforts to please me. As weeks passed, Daniel noticed my withdrawal but never confronted me. Instead, he tried harder, planning romantic evenings, buying thoughtful gifts, and always expressing his love openly. Yet, instead of being touched, I felt smothered. His desperation only fueled my resentment, pushing me further away. Daniel's attempts at winning back my affection only solidified my belief that he wasn't strong enough for me. This cycle continued, and my friends started losing respect for Daniel, mimicking my dismissive attitude toward him. They'd openly joke about how he was too nice and wrapped around my finger. Daniel, ever the peacemaker, would laugh along, hiding his hurt behind a smile. But deep down, it was eroding his self-esteem, something I didn't realize until it was too late. Everything started spiraling faster after reconnecting with some old college friends who recently moved nearby. They embodied the kind of lively, carefree spirit I admired, constantly seeking adventure and excitement. One weekend, my friend, Lauren, invited me out for what was supposed to be a casual dinner. However, it quickly evolved into a wild night of clubbing and socializing until the early morning. Daniel, ever supportive, encouraged me to enjoy myself, even slipping extra cash into my purse to cover any extra costs. That night, fueled by drinks and my friends' laughter, I began openly mocking Daniel. I exaggerated how he catered to every demand, painting him as overly passive and almost pathetic for his willingness to let me stay home without working. My friends' amusement encouraged me further, their laughter inflating my sense of superiority. The next morning, I woke up feeling awful, both physically and emotionally. Daniel greeted me with breakfast and gentle questions about my evening, yet I responded curtly, dodging details. The genuine concern in his eyes made me feel guilty, but I quickly masked my shame with irritation. My behavior toward Daniel became even colder, dismissing his efforts to reconnect, convinced he'd never confront or challenge me. As weeks went by, my outings with friends became more frequent, and Daniel became increasingly withdrawn. Our interactions turned brief and strained, though he remained patient and kind. One evening, Lauren and a few friends came to our house for a casual movie night. Daniel cooked for us and then quietly retreated, allowing us space. But after several glasses of wine, the conversation shifted toward our relationships. Lauren praised Daniel's devotion, wishing aloud that her partner was half as attentive. Instead of pride, I felt embarrassed, quickly turning her admiration into jokes at Daniel's expense. I laughed, mocking his quirks and willingness to bend to my every wish. With a careless, exaggerated gesture, I joked about how Daniel would probably jump off a bridge if I told him to. The laughter echoed, but a pang of guilt surged when I realized Daniel had probably overheard. The next morning, Daniel acted as if nothing had happened, his usual smile present, though pain lingered behind his eyes. He gently kissed my forehead, told me he loved me, and left for work. Despite feeling a brief moment of remorse, I quickly pushed it aside, determined not to dwell on my cruelty. The true turning point came during a neighborhood gathering. Our neighbors hosted a casual barbecue, a common occurrence in our friendly community. Daniel, reliable as always, took charge of the grill, making sure everyone had enough food and beverages. Meanwhile, I sat with my friends, sipping cocktails, and eventually, Daniel became the subject of our jokes again. We openly discussed his accommodating nature, laughing about how easygoing and compliant he was. Caught up in the moment, I added even harsher comments, highlighting how he never refused me, no matter the request. That's when I suddenly noticed the silence. Looking up, my heart sank. Daniel stood close by, his face pale and devoid of expression. The devastation in his eyes said more than words ever could. He approached slowly, quietly telling me we needed to talk immediately. My stomach knotted with dread, knowing instantly that I'd crossed a line. My heart raced as Daniel led me away from the gathering. Underneath the warm glow of the patio lights, the festive atmosphere now felt suffocating and tense. Once we reached a quiet spot away from prying eyes, Daniel turned to me, his expression unusually firm. "Emma," he began, his voice barely above a whisper, yet firm enough to send chills down my spine. "I've tried my best to make you happy, but all I get in return is humiliation. Do you have any idea how it feels hearing my life mock me in front of our friends?" His words pierced me deeply, and I opened my mouth to respond, but no words came out. I was paralyzed, realizing for the first time how deeply I had hurt him. I desperately wanted to apologize, but Daniel raised his hand gently, signaling me to stop before I could even begin. "I've always respected your freedom, your independence, and your happiness. But I can't live with someone who doesn't respect me," he continued, looking directly into my eyes. His gaze held a sorrow I'd never seen before, yet beneath the sadness, there was also resolve. "I'm leaving tonight, and I think you should find somewhere else to stay." I stood there, speechless, trying to process what was happening. The reality was crushing, and a wave of panic surged through me. I pleaded with him, promising I would change, begging for forgiveness. But Daniel's demeanor remained unchanged, calm yet unwavering. He wasn't angry or spiteful, he was simply done, and that hurt more than anything. With a heavy heart, he turned away, leaving me standing alone, stunned and bewildered. Tears welled up in my eyes, blurring my vision as he disappeared back toward our home. Around me, the cheerful voices and laughter from the neighbors' party continued, oblivious to the collapse of my world. After several painful moments, I composed myself enough to follow Daniel home. By the time I arrived, he was already packing my things with quiet determination. Desperation clawed at my throat as I watched him neatly and systematically erase me from our shared life. Pleading and crying did nothing to sway him. He was resolute, his silence louder than any words could be. As he finished, Daniel placed my belongings outside the front door, gently but firmly instructing me to leave. The quiet seriousness in his voice made it clear there was no room left for negotiation. I had no choice but to gather my things and go. Walking away from our home, my belongings awkwardly cradled in my arms, I felt the stinging humiliation of neighbors' eyes silently following me. The friends I'd laughed with earlier didn't come to offer comfort or support. They simply watched from afar, curiosity mixed with judgment. Each step was heavy with shame, the realization hitting hard that I'd pushed away the one person who genuinely loved me. In the days following that devastating night, my life felt utterly shattered. I moved back into my parents' house, grateful for their silent understanding and support, yet deeply embarrassed to find myself back in the place I'd eagerly left behind years ago. Each day passed slowly, filled with a painful mix of regret, loneliness, and confusion. I attempted countless times to reach out to Daniel, hoping desperately that he might reconsider or at least give me a chance to explain and apologize properly. But each call and message went unanswered, amplifying the ache in my chest. The silence was more painful than any words could have been, reinforcing the reality that Daniel had truly meant it when he said he was done. Meanwhile, my supposed friends, the very ones who had encouraged my disrespectful behavior, had vanished entirely. No texts, no calls, nothing. I finally realized how shallow those friendships had always been, built on little more than gossip and mutual ego-stroking. Lauren, whom I'd considered my closest friend, did not attempt to reach out or offer comfort. The stark contrast between their abandonment and Daniel's former loyalty deepened my sense of loss. The harsh reality began to settle in. I was entirely alone, and it was largely my fault. The support system I had taken for granted had disappeared overnight, leaving only my parents to help pick up the pieces. I felt helpless, without direction, and deeply remorseful. Daniel's absence was a constant reminder of the warmth and stability I had foolishly thrown away. Determined to regain some control over my spiraling life, I began applying for jobs, aware that I needed to stand on my own 2 feet again. Each application was a struggle, self-doubt and guilt gnawed at me, undermining my confidence. Rejections started piling up, each one reinforcing the overwhelming sense of worthlessness that had crept into my heart. At home, my parents encouraged patience and positivity, gently reminding me that healing takes time. Their kindness made me even more aware of how unappreciative I'd been toward Daniel's constant care and support. As weeks passed, I found myself reflecting deeply, forced to confront the harsh truths of my behavior and its consequences. This period of painful reflection made me realize just how selfish and cruel I'd been, not just to Daniel but to myself as well. My need for validation from shallow friendships blinded me to the genuine love and kindness I already had. The ache in my heart became a constant reminder of what I'd lost, teaching me a painful but necessary lesson in humility and gratitude. Gradually, I settled into a routine, though the ache of loss never truly faded. Each day seemed to blend into the next, a monotonous cycle punctuated by brief moments of optimism followed by waves of regret. My job search eventually yielded results, though the position was hardly ideal. It was a low-paying administrative role, arranged through my father's connections. Still, it was a step toward independence, and I forced myself to be grateful despite the sting of my pride. The work was tedious, and each day felt longer than the last, but it provided structure and distraction from the turmoil in my heart. Interactions with coworkers were superficial, and I often found myself isolated during lunch breaks, left alone with my thoughts. Those quiet moments forced me to confront my past actions and the repercussions that still haunted me. At home, my relationship with my parents gradually improved. They were patient, their unconditional love providing a stable foundation upon which I began rebuilding my sense of self-worth. Their quiet support taught me valuable lessons in humility and compassion, qualities I had severely lacked during my time with Daniel. Each evening, our conversations grew deeper, slowly peeling back the layers of resentment and selfishness I'd allowed to fester. I started therapy, recognizing that I needed professional guidance to truly understand and overcome my destructive patterns. The process was difficult and often uncomfortable. It was painful to unpack the layers of insecurity and entitlement that had driven my behavior. Yet, through these sessions, I gradually began to understand the motivations behind my past cruelty. With each revelation, I felt a strange blend of shame and relief, finally able to acknowledge the truths I'd hidden from myself for so long. One afternoon, during therapy, it dawned on me how profoundly I had underestimated Daniel. Far from weak, his unwavering patience and kindness had been a profound strength, one I was only now mature enough to truly appreciate. Realizing this filled me with both admiration for him and deep regret for how I had mistreated someone who had only ever shown me genuine care. As my self-awareness grew, I considered reaching out to Daniel again, but my therapist cautioned patience. She gently reminded me that true growth required more than mere apologies, it required meaningful change. Determined to respect Daniel's wishes and space, I refocused my energy on becoming the person I should have been from the start. Slowly but surely, life began to hold promise again. Though the pain of losing Daniel never completely disappeared, I learned to channel it into self-improvement and genuine change. For the first time in a long while, hope returned, hinting at the possibility of redemption. Months turned into nearly a year, and I continued rebuilding my life piece by piece. My job, though initially uninspiring, gradually offered me stability and a sense of accomplishment. I poured myself into the role, determined to excel and regain some of the confidence I'd lost. Soon, my coworkers began to warm up to me, and lunches once spent alone turned into friendly gatherings filled with casual conversation and laughter. Therapy became an essential part of my journey. Every session brought clarity, helping me identify the patterns and behaviors that had led me down a destructive path. Through painful but necessary self-exploration, I discovered the root of my insecurities, a deep-seated fear of inadequacy masked by a desire for control and validation from others. Acknowledging this truth was incredibly humbling, but it gave me the strength and direction I needed to move forward authentically. During one particularly reflective evening, I received an unexpected message from Lauren. Seeing her name on my phone stirred mixed emotions, resentment, curiosity, and caution. Her message was brief, a hesitant apology, coupled with an invitation to meet and talk things through. Initially, I hesitated, unsure if revisiting past friendships was wise, but curiosity and a need for closure ultimately convinced me to accept. Our meeting was awkward at first. Both of us were guarded and uncertain. Gradually, Lauren opened up about her regrets, revealing how deeply she'd been affected by the loss of our friendship. She confessed that our group had quickly turned on her too, leaving her isolated and forced to reevaluate her life choices. Hearing her experiences echoed my struggles, softening the bitterness I'd harbored. Though wary, I chose to forgive Laure, not necessarily to rekindle our friendship, but as a step toward releasing the resentment that still lingered. Forgiving her allowed me to further forgive myself, reinforcing the personal growth I'd worked so hard to achieve. It was a cathartic moment, another milestone on my path toward becoming a better person. Despite these positive changes, Daniel still occupied a significant place in my thoughts. Occasionally, mutual acquaintances provided vague updates. Daniel was thriving professionally and personally, clearly happier without me. Though painful to hear, the updates strengthened my resolve to keep improving myself, not to win him back, but out of genuine respect for the man he'd always been. As I continued this journey of self-improvement, my focus gradually shifted away from regret toward genuine optimism. My path forward, though uncertain, felt filled with opportunities for meaningful growth and authentic happiness. For the first time, I truly believed that I could become someone deserving of the love and respect I'd once carelessly discarded. Time continued its steady march forward, and eventually, my heart found a quiet kind of peace. Though Daniel and I remained apart, the lessons learned from our past stayed with me, shaping every step forward. My career flourished as I embraced greater responsibilities, gaining confidence grounded not in the approval of others, but in my genuine effort and growth. Through therapy, I continued deepening my self-awareness and learning healthier ways to manage my emotions and relationships. It became clear that my journey wasn't just about mending past wounds, but about building a solid foundation for my future. I found joy in the simple routines of life, appreciating the peace I'd once mistaken for boredom or weakness. New friendships blossomed naturally, based on mutual respect and genuine understanding. Unlike before, these connections weren't driven by superficial validation but rooted in authenticity. Slowly, I rebuilt a community around myself, one filled with supportive and caring individuals who enriched my life in ways I hadn't imagined possible. One evening, at a small gathering with these new friends, someone mentioned seeing Daniel recently. My heart fluttered briefly with a familiar pang of nostalgia, yet I listened calmly. Daniel had found happiness, engaged in a stable and loving relationship, moving forward in life without looking back. Hearing this stirred a mix of bittersweet emotions within me, sadness for what we'd lost, yet genuine happiness for his newfound joy. Rather than let these feelings overwhelm me, I found solace in knowing that both Daniel and I had grown stronger and happier apart. This realization brought a deep sense of closure, enabling me to fully release the past and embrace the present wholeheartedly. It was liberating to genuinely wish Daniel well without any underlying motives or lingering resentments. Today, I see clearly the strength it took Daniel to walk away, strength I once underestimated. His decision was not a sign of weakness or defeat, but a powerful assertion of self-respect and dignity. Inspired by this realization, I strive daily to mirror that strength in my actions and choices. Life continues with all its complexities, yet each day brings new opportunities for growth and fulfillment. I no longer dwell on past mistakes. Instead, I view them as essential stepping stones toward becoming the best version of myself. Daniel's memory, now tinged with gratitude rather than regret, serves as a constant reminder of the value of respect, kindness, and genuine love, qualities I will forever carry forward in my heart.